billionaire just called you an idiot. No, seriously. Billionaire Nikhil Kamath, one of the most successful young entrepreneurs in the world, recently said that if you're 25 and going to earn your MBA today, you must be some kind of an idiot. That's a direct quote, but I think it's a little bit out of context. In today's video, we're going to break down the comment, look at both sides of his argument, and more importantly, look through some alternatives that might be more specific to you and your career path. Now, with this comment, he sparked a massive debate between young professionals, splitting them right down the middle. His argument is that in a world of AI and free information, spending so much money for a 2-year program might be a waste of time, especially when you have zero real-world experience. And I think that's the key part of his comment that we need to dissect. He specifically calls out 25-year-olds, and I don't think that's by accident. Nevertheless, it split ambitious professionals down the middle and left us wondering, is he an out-of-touch billionaire, or is he handing you the best financial advice you can ever receive? Let's break that down piece by piece and look at some alternatives. First, let's see why he might be right. As we said, free information is everywhere. Internet and AI has largely been democratized in a way that allows everybody to get online information for free. Tools like ChatGPT can even create custom case studies and curriculum for self-study. But as we said before, I think the strongest piece of his argument touches on experience. Without those real world experience, you're not going to be able to contribute as much to your MBA program. Instead, you're going to be on the sidelines absorbing information, but without the context that really creates relevancy in a way that you can use that information for yourself in the future. And then there's the unbelievable financial burden of spending over $200,000 on a program while still losing 2 years of salary if you join a full-time program. This debt can stay with you for decades and impact your major life goals like buying a house or even starting a family. Yes, you'll have the fancy title, but you'll also be carrying around this debt. Before we break down Kamath's point of view on the other side, it's worth double-clicking on the experience gap. So if you've only had a couple of years of experience in an entry-level gig, your understanding of messy office politics, management of stakeholder expectations, supply chain meltdowns, and global market entry is purely theoretical. You're not an active participant who makes the conversation richer for everyone else. If you haven't managed a team or owned a P&L, you don't have the understanding that comes with financial responsibility or business unit performance. You'll quickly find that your peers in a world-class MBA program will have stories and experiences like this and to give you insight on how to manage them. This is a give and take conversation, and without being able to give, it'll be much harder to gain the value of what you're trying to learn from your peers. If you haven't faced real failure, then the successes you experience won't mean as much. These experiences teaches you more than anything, and bringing those forward will enrich the classroom and the conversation. And all of a sudden, the value of a 2-year program goes up immensely. And that's why the average age of students at top US business schools like Wharton, Harvard, and Cornell are around 27 to 28, with at least 5 years of work experience. These schools just aren't looking for high test scores. They're intentionally crafting a class of students who can learn from one another. They want professional maturity. If you're 25 with a thin resume, then you're just shortchanging yourself. Okay, before you set your GMAT books on fire, let's flip the coin and see what the other side of his argument is and why an MBA at 25 could be a golden ticket. Like we said, the backlash was furious. One point the critics made was specific to Kamath's massive privilege bias. For many ambitious people with a middle-class background, an MBA is a door opener, especially when it comes from a top school. It's not just a piece of paper. It's a key to the whole new world. One of the arguments was the availability of free information. And while YouTube can provide a lot of value, there are some things it just can't deliver. The first is the network. You've heard it a million times. Your network is your net worth. It's a cliche, but it's very much true. I personally have found business opportunities through past contacts and former managers. Without those connections, I wouldn't have the job I have today. A top MBA program instantly plugs you into a global alumni network consisting of founders, executives, and leaders who are genuinely inclined to help you because you share the same school. This network gets you opportunities to pitch to these and gets your resume on the right desks. The second advantage here is what I'm going to call the signal. In a sea of applicants for a new and high prestigious job, a degree from Wharton or INSEAD or Cornell is an immediate stamp of credibility. It shows leaders that you've taken the extra step to learn key business concepts and more importantly, ways of applying them to real world situations. An MBA can be critical for breaking into certain industries like consulting, private equity, and investment banking. You can choose the role of hustler and try to make it without the MBA credential, but there's no doubt that having an MBA on your resume will garner you some attention from the right folks. While we brought up the point of a financial hardship in the previous argument, let's revisit that concept here on the other side. While the initial cost of an MBA is staggering, if you apply your network and everything you've learned to its fullest potential post-graduation, you can find yourself in roles where the median starting salaries are well into the six figures. The degree accelerates career and it enables industry pivots that would otherwise be impossible. And being able to facilitate such a massive salary jump could help reduce the burden of debt and loans as you go along with the proper saving techniques. Let's double click on this concept a little further, since it is worth unpacking. If we take a student who's spent $200,000 on an MBA program and taken 2 years out of their career to enroll in a full-time program, that's a lot of expense. However, we've just discussed how MBA candidates can see a major salary jump in their current career, or if they're able to pivot, they can still find six-figure salaries. For many, the degree accelerates their trajectory, and access to these higher salaries is totally feasible. If we consider that and do some very rough math, it could take up to 10 years with the proper saving to pay off any kind of debt or loans. This, of course, could be faster or slower, but with access to this type of salary and income, paying down your MBA costs becomes a lot more realistic. And so it's less about feeling the initial pain of the expense, but recognizing the value of that degree over a longer period of time if you're able to leverage it properly. So an MBA is not a trap unless you use it for the wrong reasons. It becomes a trap when you're running away from a job you hate instead of running towards a goal you've defined for yourself. For most 25-year-olds, I'll say that the smartest move isn't to get an MBA right now. Rather, it should be an effort to spend the next few years building what business schools actually value, which is unique hands-on experience that you can bring to the classroom. So what are those alternatives? What can you do for the next 3 to 5 years to build a foundation that will either make an MBA pointless for you or make your application irresistible when you're 28? The first alternative that I'm going to recommend is to become an intrapreneur. Ask for the ugly and difficult projects at your work. Volunteer for new initiatives. Start a side hustle that's related to the industry that you want to pivot to. Basically, get your hands dirty in such a way that will allow others to see your passion. Find a way to own a P&L. Manage people, even if it's one other person. And when you experience failure, make sure to recognize it for the teaching opportunity it is. Secondly, try to think about getting specialized knowledge. Pursuing targeted certifications in key areas of interest can provide immense value without the cost. If you can find a specialized master's program, a lot of them are cheaper, shorter, and faster in specific industries that will enable you to pivot at a faster rate. The third is what we were touching on earlier in the value of the network. While an MBA gives you access to a built-in network, that doesn't mean that you can't build one yourself. Build up your LinkedIn profile, post points of view, and react to conversations being had online. Attend any industry conferences, ask for a cup of coffee with someone you admire online, and build up your portfolio of contacts that you can regularly call on. Create content for what you're learning and post that to show that you're learning at a pace that warrants attention. So where does that leave us? The bottom line is that Nikhil Kamath isn't totally right, but he's not totally wrong either. He's right that jumping into an MBA program at 25 without a clear plan or meaningful experience may be a massive financial risk. There's a reason that the sweet spot for work experience is usually between 3 and 7 years. Your first 3 years are really entry level and building foundational skills and experience. Years 4 to 7 may be when you want to consider an MBA. At this point, you have enough experience to contribute and you have a long runway in order to use that information effectively. Years 7 and 8 is all about developing that senior experience, really diving deep into people management, P&L, and financial responsibility. This is where the maximum value from your MBA network can come from. And if you're looking at 9 years or more of experience, you should seriously consider executive MBA programs like I did that can be more relevant to you than a traditional 2-year full-time MBA program. The takeaway is that depending on where you are in this spectrum, you want to make sure you know where you're going and have a plan for that. And if an MBA is part of that plan, then you should pursue it with confidence. If you're 25 and feeling the pressure to get an MBA, just take a minute. The smartest move probably isn't to sign up. As we said, think about where you are in your career journey. Spend the next few years taking some risks and getting your hands dirty. build up those experiences. Then if an MBA still makes sense, you won't just be another student in the room, you'll be a leader. And that's someone no billionaire can call an idiot. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to hit subscribe. And if you want more advice on MBA strategies, then check out this video right here, and I'll see you there.